Okay, welcome back. This is biology question 48 from IMAT 2011 past paper. So I will be answering this question. It says the statements below shows three stages in glycolysis. The first one, two of three carbon compounds. Number two, six carbon compound. Number three, phosphorylated six carbon compound. Okay, so before we move further, we must recall the definition for glycolysis. So, glycolysis is the metabolic process, which occurs in the both eukaryotes and prokaryotic organism. So basically, it breaks down glucose. So its main goal is glucose is converted to a compound that's called pyruvate. Pyruvate. So this compound that produces pyruvate. Okay, so this is the process glycolysis. This occurs in the cytoplasm of cellular said cytosol. Cytosol. Okay, so this is where it occurs in the cell. It does not happen inside the mitochondria, but this product is important to be used in the other react other cellular reactions to produce more ATP. But this process also produces ATP, but quite less because this process is anaerobic respiration. So meaning that this process does not require oxygen. Okay, so it occurs in absence of oxygen, and so it produces less ATP, and its main product is pyruvate. This is glycolysis. Okay, and so that's why it's also known as a substrate level phosphorylation. Okay, but for this question, the most important thing you must focus on is the compounds, the products, and the reactants that are involved in glycolysis. Okay, so before we go through this, uh, first of all, our main focus is we have to reduce this into correct sequence, like which sequence occurs first, whether this sequence or this comes first. Okay, these are the steps in the glycolysis, and we must write them in correct order. So first of all, I'm going to construct the word equation for glycolysis. Okay, this is going to be a simple one, the basic uh, word equation for glycolysis. Okay, okay, so the first product, the main product that's involved is glucose. So glucose plus 2 NAD plus and 2 ADP, sorry, 2 ADP plus 2 inorganic phosphates, which is written in short form as PI. Okay, pi, and these reactants, when combined, produces the products two pyruvate, two pyruvate compounds plus two NADH plus 2 ATP plus two water molecules and also two protons, two hydrogen ions. Okay, so this is the basic word equation for the glycolysis. Now, using this, we can solve this question. This is sufficient. Okay, and okay, so now let's solve the question. So the first one, it says two of three carbon compounds. So now what this means is they're trying to say there is a compound that has three carbons in its structure and it's produced twice. Okay, twice these amounts, like one three carbon and also another three carbon. So what this compound they're referring to is 2-pyruvate. This pyruvate compound is what they're referring to as 2,3 carbon compound because two pyruvates and pyruvate is also a three carbon compound. How? So I'm going to draw the chemical structure for it. So this is the chemical structure for pyruvate. Okay, so two oxygens here, then three hydrogens this side. Okay, so this is chemical structure for pyruvate. So one, two, three. There are three total compounds. So hence this pyruvate is considered as 3C, three carbon compound. Okay, so we easily know this. This is our final product. Okay, so we are going to mark this as the third, the the third stage of the glucose. Okay, the three carbon compound is the pyruvate. Two pyruvate chemicals, two pyruvate compounds are produced at the end of glycolysis. And number two states six carbon compound. Okay, and we easily know the six carbon compound is going to be glucose. Why? Because glucose is C6H12O6. So this is the general molecular formula you must remember because it's hexose sugar. So we know glucose is hexose sugar. Okay, so that's why it's six carbon and H12O6. So six carbon compound. Okay, six carbon. So this is glucose. So this is easily going to be the first step. Okay, now the third step, now the third statement mentions a phosphorylated six carbon compound. Okay, so now this one I'm going to explain here is that as you know that IMAT exam is very critical about time because it's very time limited and basically that glycolysis actually involves 10 steps. There are 10 steps in glycolysis. If you zoom in the more molecular detail about glycolysis, there's going to be 10 steps. So the first five steps are actually known as energy requiring. So this process requires an ATP. So this total ATP that is required for this process is actually two ATP molecule. And the other five step, the last five step is known as energy releasing. Okay, this step is known as energy releasing. This produces 4 ATP, but the net total ATP gained from this glycolysis is 2 ATP. That's why this ATP that I've mentioned in the word equation is actually net ATP. Okay, so 2 ATP is used, 2 ATP used, and the 4 ATP made. Okay, and the very first process of the in the 10th step of the glycolysis is actually this process and this step, which is energy requiring. So this is the simplest, the first step. Glucose transforms into a product which is known as glucose 6 phosphate. Okay, so this requires ATP, one ATP molecule, and this reaction is catalyzed by an enzyme known as hexokinase. Okay, so this compound right here is the phosphorylated six carbon compound. So six carbon compound, as I mentioned, it is a glucose and phosphorylated. So this glucose is phosphorylated and it has phosphate group in the sixth carbon position. Okay, and this is catalyzed by reaction hexokinase. This is the very first step of the glycolysis, which is in the first five step of energy requiring because it uses ATP. And from this ATP, they remove one pi, the inorganic phosphate, and it uses this pi to integrate into the glucose chemical structure and form phosphorylated six carbon compound, which is this glucose 6 phosphate. Okay, so this is the first step. This is the actual compound they're referring to in the third statement. So this one is also known as the intermediate. This is the very first intermediate product. So this one is going to be the second option. Okay, so now as I was saying that IMAT is very time critical. So how do you solve this question in the very simple way without recalling the entire steps of glycolysis? Is that you should know a very basic is that you must memorize this this word equation for the IMAT exam, the glycolysis, which is glucose, NAD plus, and this product combined giving two pyruvates, NADH, and two ATP. This is the most simplest and the important word equation you must remember. So if you remember this, you're good to go. Okay, so you already know that glucose is the very first and the main product required for this reaction, the reactant, sorry. So glucose is the main reactant required for this reaction glycolysis and to produce 2-pyruvate. So pyruvate is our final product and glucose is our first reactant. Okay, so this is easy. So you just mark the main important points. So this is how it is like a six carbon compound that is a glucose. Okay, glucose into this phosphorylated six carbon compound, which is glucose 6 phosphate. Okay, so I'm going to mention this as the intermediate. This is very first intermediate. Okay, intermediate. And then the third one is the pyruvate, which is the final product. Pyruvate. Okay, so the first, second, third. So this is the sequence of the glycolysis. Okay, so now we can find the correct option for this question. So the correct option is option B, 231. 2, the glucose turns into a phosphorylated carbon compound, which is the intermediate step, glucose 6 phosphate, and then the final step is 2-pyruvate compound. Okay, this is the final step of the glycolysis, its main products. So this is the final answer for this question. Okay, so keep in mind that you have to memorize this word equation at all costs for glycolysis. And if you well memorized it, then it's a great thing. You can easily solve this without memorizing or recalling the entire 10 steps of glycolysis, which is very complicated as it's very time limited as well. So you have to solve this question very quick. Okay, so that's how we solve this question. Thank you guys for watching my video. I hope you find this video helpful. Please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys. Bye.